Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining America's Promise Alliance and the Grad Nation campaign. Achieving a 90% graduation rate, what's working to connect the high school experience with pathways to post-secondary education? Before we begin, we want to note a few ground rules. Due to the volume of participants today, everyone has been muted. At any time during the presentation, you can use the questions panel to write and submit your questions. We will try to take as many questions as possible following the presentation. We invite you to join the conversation on Twitter by using the hashtag GradNation during and after the presentation. This webinar is being recorded. A link will be shared in the coming days on the Grad Nation website. Finally, we encourage all participants to take a 2 to 3 minute survey immediately following today's webinar. This survey information will help us better understand who you are, whether this webinar was valuable to you and your work, and what topics you'd like to see covered during future Grad Nation learning sessions. We will now get started. Welcome to today's webinar. The high school experience is changing. If you think back to your own high school experience, to what extent do you think it prepared you for life after high school? What parts of high school informed your choices in college or at work? What could have been different to better support your trajectory? What would you tell your high school self about life after high school? I am Nevatia Noble, a manager of strategic initiatives and partnerships at America's Promise Alliance. In today's Grad Nation webinar, we are focusing on pathways because the high school experience is changing to better prepare young people for their options after high school. During today's webinar, we will learn from two organizations, the Link Learning Alliance and Bard High School Early College Baltimore, that successfully connect students to and prepare them for post-secondary pathways and overall adult success. After the presentations, we will wrap up with questions and answers. America's Promise Alliance has led the Grad Nation campaign for nearly 10 years. In that time, we have seen the graduation rate climb from the 70s to a 2016 rate of 84%. Our action platform aims to get at the practices that contribute to increasing graduation rates by reflecting the experiences and expertise of nonprofit, school districts, and classroom leaders who are working to improve graduation and life outcomes for young people in communities across the country. The Pathways platform area reflects the notion that high school graduation is not an end goal that signals guaranteed success. Rather, young people must graduate from high school properly prepared for the post-secondary pathways they choose. Examples of pathways include a 4-year college, 2-year college, or the workforce. Whatever the path, we want them to all be successful. True readiness for life after high school is required because young people with post-secondary education tend to have higher levels of employment and wages, increased access to health care and retirement plans, and greater levels of community and civic engagement later in life. To dig deeper into the data that speaks to why it is imperative that our young people are ready for what is to come after high school, we're going to take a look at some of the data that Georgetown Public Policy Institute included in their report entitled Recovery, Job Growth, and Education Requirement through 2020. One of the key findings in this report is the fact that by 2020, 65% of all jobs in the economy will require post-secondary education and training beyond high school. As you can see from the data, and as time progresses, jobs that require only a high school diploma has decreased, and jobs that require training beyond high school increase and continues to increase. And if we take a look at this graph, which is also included in the recovery report, you will see that there will be fewer jobs available to individuals that only possess a high school diploma. If we take a closer look at the graph, we can see that over 50% of the job openings between 2010 and 2020 will require more than a high school diploma. This data is important because it puts into perspective the labor market needs. The fact that the labor market will require more than just a high school diploma emphasizes why we must continue to make high schools a place that provides students with the necessary tools and resources to navigate these pathways and be successful in whatever pathway they choose.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Monica Kinchelo, and I'm a Senior Director of Strategic Initiatives and Partnerships at America's Promise Alliance. So while the data tells us that post-secondary education is necessary, the hard part, of course, is moving the high school system to incorporate pathways. The system faces two challenges when it comes to moving towards a pathways view of high school. First, the system faces a readiness challenge. Many young people do not have access to the opportunities and experiences that prepare them for post-secondary pathways, in particular college-focused pathways. The system has responded to this challenge by offering a diversity of courses, from AP and IB to CTE and concurrent enrollment in college courses. And as with all aspects of education, the quality and rigor of the course determines student readiness. A second system challenge is that where there are options, young people often need support to understand the options and to navigate them. Navesha will now share some data to demonstrate the disparities in youth readiness in particular.
Many students are not properly prepared for post-secondary pathways due to underrepresentation in rigorous course programs. Based on the data, in 2016, Black students represented 15.3% of all students in public schools, but just 7.3% of all students took at least one AP exam. In that same year, Hispanic students made up 26.4% of public school students, but just 22.4% of AP were AP test takers. Rigorous coursework is a leading indicator of post-secondary enrollment and attainment. The fact that Black and Hispanic students often lack access to high-level courses required to enroll in post-secondary institutions and programs is problematic, which is why we must continue to properly prepare these students for life after high school. This table illustrates the preparation gaps between student groups, income levels, and access to pre-college academic prep. Based on the data, it proves that the lack of rigorous coursework in high school and pre-college academics can have negative implications on a student's post-secondary trajectory, especially in college. The data shows that students with less pre-college preparation were the students who were required the highest rates of remediation at 2-year and 4-year institutions. We include this data to emphasize why college preparation in high school is crucial in setting up our students for success, and why it is extremely imperative that we address the inequities in post-secondary access and attainment. In order to move towards a pathways view of high school, we must ensure that the post-secondary pathways are clear, connected, and responsive, which Monica will discuss in more detail.
Recall that the second system challenge is around youth knowledge. As the system considers ways to increase young people's knowledge of their post-secondary options, we think solutions must make pathways clear, connected, and responsive to youth. Clear pathways means that young people understand the range of options available to them. For example, starting with an associate's degree before moving into a 4-year program, or earning a healthcare credential, for example, to work for a few years before going on to college. Connected pathways requires the system parts to talk to each other, something that will be illustrated on the next slide. The K-12 educational system must talk to higher education and the workforce, all with economic realities in mind. And finally, responsive pathways recognize that no two students are alike. Each young person brings a set of life experiences that impacts his ability to navigate learning and take advantage of opportunities. The K-12, higher education, and workforce systems must be flexible to meet young people where they are and to coach them to success. The graphic on this slide is borrowed from a partner organization, Jobs for the Future. We like it because it envisions a young person's universe of life pathways beyond the traditional 4-year college option. Success in life after high school starts at the left side of the graphic, with rigorous academics and career-focused learning that confers readiness. Following readiness are a multitude of options for education, credentialing, work-based learning, and jobs, all with increasing difficulty. In today's webinar, America's Promise Alliance is joined by experts that will share how their organizations are connecting the high school experience to pathways after high school. The Linked Learning Alliance and Bard High School Early College both answer the system challenges around readiness and knowledge and have impressive data to show their impact on young people's trajectories. I'll now hand it over to Hillary McLean, Executive Vice President at the Linked Learning Alliance, and Cynthia Brown, Director of Pathways at Porterville Unified School District, a linked learning high school in California.
Thank you so much. This is Hillary McLean. I really appreciate the introduction. I am the Executive Vice President of the Linked Learning Alliance, and I'm thrilled to be here with my colleague Cynthia Brown to talk about linked learning and tell you a little bit about what it is, why we think this approach is so impactful to student learning, and how to do it. This is myself and Cynthia. So let me tell you a little bit about linked learning. Get the slides here to forward. There we go. So linked learning is an approach to transforming high schools to prepare all students for college, career, and life. And it's really based on this concept that if education is relevant to students, then they're going to work harder and dream bigger and be more engaged in their learning. Sorry about that, a little too far. This relevance of linked learning is conferred through 4 components that are integrated. The 4 components are rigorous academics that meet college-ready standards with sequenced, high-quality career technical education or career-themed education. Work-based learning, so students actually get to apply what they're learning in the classroom out in the real world and meet professionals who are affirming their educational trajectory and providing them contacts and feedback. And then supports to help students stay on track, and those supports can include academic supports, social emotional supports, and also supports to help students gain college knowledge. So all of this together, this integration, makes learning more like the real world of work, and it really helps students answer the question, why do I need to learn this? Now, I'm using the term approach when I describe linked learning. It's not a model or a program. There are many different delivery models for the linked learning approach, and you can see linked learning in career pathways. Sometimes they're called career academies or NAF academies. Linked learning can be an approach applied in small school contexts or charter schools. The P-TECH model is another example, or even a district-wide strategy, which, as you'll hear in a few minutes from my colleague, Cynthia Brown at Porterville Unified, they are applying linked learning as a district-wide approach. Now, why linked learning? Some of this is kind of going back to what you heard at the beginning of this webinar. We all agree that we need to do something better for high school students. There are fewer than 8 out of 10 students in California that started high school back. This data is a little bit old, but back from the 08-09 school year, who graduated with their class 4 years later. That means 21% of students didn't graduate in 4 years. And then we've got this massive number of students who are ages 16 to 24 who are neither in school nor working. And this means these young people are really veering towards chronic unemployment as adults and failing to gain skills that employers need, even at a time of really high unemployment rates. And then at the same time, here in California, and it certainly applies nationwide, we need over 1 million career-ready college graduates to meet the workforce needs, yet only 40% of California young adults currently hold an associate's degree or higher, and only 15% of our students are graduating from high school prepared for college to take those credit-bearing courses. So we really believe linked learning can change the trajectory for young people and prepare them for college and career and life through career-themed pathways. But we want to make clear that students, linked learning students, and our belief about linked learning is that all students should have access to an education that prepares them for college and career, but that it's about choice and expanding opportunities, not imposing a track on young people. And this contextual education really gives them the ability and the support to make informed choices about their future and have the educational pedigree under their belt to pursue those choices. So we learned a lot about linked learning through studying it in a district initiative. There was a 6-year demonstration project that included 9 districts in California that really implemented linked learning systemically over this period. And this demonstration project was rigorously evaluated by SRI International. Just to note, these 9 districts combined serve about 14% of all of the students in California. Each of those districts had a very diverse student mix. At least 50% of each of the total student population was socioeconomically disadvantaged, and at least 75% were non-white students. The point of the district initiative was to do several things. Was to enhance the practice of linked learning, learn about what it takes to implement linked learning on a system-wide basis, and then really demonstrate the viability of this approach as a comprehensive district-wide initiative for improving high schools. What we found from the evaluation is that it actually does work, that students in high-quality linked learning pathways, and this high-quality or certified pathway is a really key word, that these students were less likely to drop out and more likely to graduate. Linked learning students in high-quality pathways earn more credits. Of course, that's key for on-time graduation and for applying to post-secondary. They demonstrate greater academic success, and what we were really heartened by is that this greater academic success was found particularly among those students that have low prior achievement. Linked learning students also report greater confidence in their life and career skills, and they recognize that they're experiencing a more rigorous, integrated, and relevant instruction compared to their peers. Here's just a few more notes about students with low prior achievement. We looked at engagement among the students, their academic success, and their college readiness. And on all of these measures, students with low prior achievement in high-quality linked learning pathways outperform their peers. So it was very, very encouraging. So SRI's evaluation also gave us a lot of insights around what actually makes, what it takes to provide high-quality linked learning. So I'd like to now turn the webinar over to my colleague, Cynthia Brown, who is the Linked Learning Director at Porterville Unified School District, and she has managed linked learning in Porterville Unified throughout the district initiative and beyond, and is truly an expert in what it takes to provide linked learning.
Thank you, Hillary. So just to give you a quick overview picture of our district, Porterville Unified School District is located in the California Central Valley. Agriculture is our largest industry sector. It's a rural area surrounded by rich crops that feed the world, serving 14,000 kindergarten through 12th grade students with 80% low poverty level population. Currently, we have 6 high schools with 14 pathways, which are small learning communities within our high school, all using the linked learning approach, building college and career readiness for students. So with support from the James Irvine Foundation, SRI International evaluated the linked learning approach at work in 9 school districts across California over a course of 7 years. The evaluation surfaced a set of strategies that promote successful implementation of linked learning by both the school districts and individual pathways. I'll go back just real quick. SRI's finding was published in a practice guide called What It Takes to Create Linked Learning, a report on lessons learned from evaluating the approach in practice. The guide is available on the Linked Learning website, and you can see the link right there on the screen. Full realization of the linked learning approach requires a systemic support and strong common core cohort infrastructure, with the linked learning model seen as a priority for educational transformation. So the leaders in the 9 demonstration districts identify the key district-specific implementation strategies listed here as crucial in establishing and sustaining linked learning. So each of these strategies are equally important. However, for the purposes of time, I will hone in on just a few in this webinar. So common vision. Educators across the district and at every level must share a common vision in order to understand, buy into, and explicitly support the implementation of linked learning. The superintendent, executive cabinet, school board, and a coalition of professional partners must be visible and public champions. This is key to ensuring a common vision and ownership. We developed graduate outcomes with all our stakeholders at the table agreeing on our vision and mission, which has truly cemented our shared vision around linked learning work. Support for work-based learning is also a pivotal strategy. To provide adequate work-based learning opportunities that are equitably allocated to students, districts must invest in supportive staff and structures so that the responsibility does not fall solely on the pathway leads and teachers. Tying in fully engaged workforce partners will take the traditional education to that next level by building rigor through authentic real-world hands-on learning experiences for the students. And attention to equity must be the overriding strategy for this work in order to be fair for each and every student. To achieve equitable pathway enrollment for all students, districts must be intentional about the distribution and location of pathways, as well as assuring that there are policies and recruitment practices that put students' awareness of options tied to their interests and accessibility to the pathways. In Porterville Unified, we provide all students the opportunity to enroll full-time in a pathway based purely on interest. We offer a robust variety of high school pathway options throughout our high schools for students to choose from, and with one common application and enrollment system. We do not screen, there's no grade or background check. If the students apply on time and space is available, then students are allowed to enroll. We are proud to say that we have not turned any student away in the past 7 to 8 years. In addition to supportive district system strategies, linked learning depends on strong implementation at the school and pathway level. So across the 9 demonstration districts, principals and pathway leads, we identified the following key strategies of pathway implementation, which you see on the screen. Key ones I'd like to point out are a master schedule. The schools really need to build a master schedule that support regular collaborative planning time connected for the pathway staff, which includes core and CTE teachers to work together and collaborate in building integrated projects connected to work-based learning experiences. Also essential is to build a master schedule that allows for course placement and school day to support the student cohort, so the students can experience more of a connected sequence of learning during the school day through the career theme lens. Principal leadership is also extremely important. Pathways require active principal leadership and support. Districts must get principals on board early, support them with implementation through coaching and technical assistance, and really hold them accountable. Pathway lead teachers need administrative support and coaching and to lead their team of teachers and allow them the greater time to fulfill their responsibilities. Additional release time is an example. Specialized professional development and externships are also great examples of extra support. These are essential for the lead to be able to engage and build a strong community of practice to develop rigorous integrated curriculum and support our students. Supporting advisory boards, working alongside our engaged leads and staff, that's essential to champion with expertise to bring real-world experiences and those aha moments for the student learning. All of these ingredients, if put in place in a strategic system, have proven to bode well for sites have been reflected in our positive data trends and student success stories. Now I'd like to turn it back on over to my colleague Hillary McLean, who will share importance of the certification process.
Thank you so much, Cindy. And we talked a little bit earlier about the importance of high-quality pathways to be impactful to student achievement. We have seen interest in linked learning growing fairly exponentially here in California. There's now over 3,000 pathways with nearly 500,000 students in our state having access to linked learning. And we're seeing new pathways being added each year. But that gave us some pause around our commitment to not just scale, but also quality. And we really had to ask ourselves, are we delivering on the promise of linked learning pathways to ensure that each student is getting engaged in their learning and getting prepared for college and career? That led us to become convinced that we really needed a clear standard for excellence, and we needed to be able to communicate that to pathways that, unlike Porterville Unified, which had the benefit of being part of this really strong learning community and ongoing demonstration project where they worked for a number of years with technical assistance to really hone and provide an excellent linked learning experience for students. There are others that are getting into this work just now and don't have that same curated support. So we really wanted to be clear about what high quality meant. So we did create linked learning certification. It's a new scalable approach to certification. It's an online platform, so it's very accessible. And we really felt it was critical because, again, students the evidence shows us that students who are enrolled in certified pathways have more positive outcomes than students in non-certified pathways. So we wanted to ensure that the system that we created was scalable and also really did measure what quality is. So linked learning certification measures and recognizes pathways that have attained a certain level of fidelity to the four components, the core components of linked learning. So we actually, in the certification platform, we grouped the first two components together. So that's the college preparatory academics and the sequenced technical courses, and we call that an integrated program of study. And then, of course, we measure how effectively are students accessing work-based learning and how effectively are pathways providing student supports. So we have 3 certification levels, and certification indicates that the pathway has attained a certain level of fidelity, again, to those 4 components. So the first level, a candidate pathway, is the pathway has to provide evidence that they have basic program elements in place, and then as they progress up the tiers of certification up to a certification goal, they'll provide greater degrees of evidence of high quality programming and high fidelity to the 4 components. So we're really excited to see that there have been many pathways responsive to this opportunity to get certified. And I'll just add, it is absolutely voluntary for pathways to do this. They actually elect to do it and become a register and then seek pursuit of certification. We actually think that there are some incentives for pathways to do this. Of course, we want them to want to be recognized for their quality and the approach, the linked learning opportunities they're providing to students. But we also think that certification provides a rich opportunity for pathways to network with each other through the certification platform. And as pathways progress through the levels of certification, students in those pathways will have additional benefits. So we have some starting at that initial level of a certified pathway, a candidate pathway, where the students that are in a candidate or level or above have the opportunity to apply for our annual linked learning scholarship. So that's one example. And we are working to increase the benefits for students at the higher levels of certification, such as preferential hiring opportunities for those students and accelerated university admissions. So that's all work underway that we hope to be able to to keep expanding. So if you're interested in learning more about linked learning certification, we have a dedicated webpage at certification.linkedlearning.org. And if you want to know more about linked learning, generally speaking, our website is linkedlearning.org. And with that, I will turn this webinar back over to our hosts. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Hillary and Cindy, for your presentation. So while linked learning focuses on incorporating CTE credentialing with college and career-ready curriculum, we're now going to shift gears to another approach that provides high schoolers with a dual enrollment program that results in graduation with a high school diploma and a 2-year associate's degree. So next we'll hear from Clara Haskell-Botstein, Associate Vice President for Bard High School Early College in Baltimore, and Dr. David Guba, who is Faculty in History for Bard High School Early College in Baltimore.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Clara Haskell-Botstein. I'm the Associate Vice President for the Bard Early Colleges. We are a national network of early college high schools where students can earn a 2-year associate's degree completely free of charge alongside a high school diploma. So why do we do this work? Our belief, as we've talked about earlier in this presentation, is that there are too many students at the high school level who are underengaged and underprepared for college. So we're losing this huge talent pool of folks who want to go to college, who are college bound, but don't complete degrees. The majority of students who go to college in this country don't finish, which we see as a major problem. And for low-income first-generation college students, those rates are exceedingly low, with nearly half of students in bachelor's degree programs not finishing. So we see pathways in early college high schools specifically as a key strategy for addressing this issue. The great thing about early college high schools is that they are very evidence-based. So while we believe in them, we also have data to back up our belief. The early college high school movement really kicked off around 2001. And since then, there have been numerous state and national studies that have demonstrated that students who participate in early college are significantly more likely to enroll in and complete college degrees. This was validated by a randomized control trial. I'm happy to share more about that, but there's a really strong evidence base behind this model. We also know that programs, whether they're dual enrollment, which means basically a loose term, meaning a high school student taking a college class, or a full early college high school leading to a degree, there's some clear best practices for successful programs. So the programs have to be providing a clear pathway to a degree or credential, ideally at no or low cost, and providing a lot of support services. So all the wraparound services to help students succeed. And these partnerships are true partnerships between the K-12 system and the institutions of higher education that participate. So we really see this as a systems change, a real hybrid model that is leading to much stronger outcomes for students. So who are we and why is BARD involved? So as I said before, the BARD Early Colleges are a network of early college high schools that allow students to earn up to an associate's degree alongside a high school diploma at no cost to them. Our program is a liberal arts and sciences curriculum, so students are earning essentially the first 2 years of undergraduate study in a general studies curriculum that they can then take to a bachelor's degree institution. Our mission is around college access, affordability, and completion, particularly for students who are at risk of not completing those degrees. We also, because we're a liberal arts institution, really believe that the liberal arts program is the best training for the jobs of the 21st century and for engaged citizenship. Bard College itself is a very innovative institution. We are a nonprofit college of the liberal arts located in New York's Hudson Valley, founded in 1860, so we've been around a long time. And what's really unique about BARD is its very strong public interest mission. So BARD is really dedicated to bringing high quality liberal arts education to populations that don't have access. We do this through the prison system, abroad in places like Russia and the West Bank, and our largest program is early college high schools. So you may ask, why is BARD involved in early college? In 1979, BARD took over a college that still exists in Massachusetts called Simon's Rock. Simon's Rock is a college dedicated to providing college to adolescents, so students who start that program at age 16. Ronan Farrow is one of our alums. There are many people who have gone through, bright young people who want more of a challenge. So in 2001, when there was an investment in public early college high schools, the New York City school system asked BARD to take what it had been doing at Simon's Rock and create a public version. So the BARD High School Early College model, which we're here to talk about today, is the model that came out of that. So rather than having students travel to BARD College, which is about 2 hours north of New York City, we actually bring the college to the student. So the Bard High School early college campuses are accredited branch campuses of Bard. They are staffed by college professors who are selected and trained for their interest in and ability to teach 14 through 18-year-olds. The program is tailored to that age group. So the 9th and 10th grade is taught by college professors and segues directly into the college program, which takes the place of 11th and 12th grade. So we call it year 1 and year 2 of college. And when students graduate, they get that 2-year associate's degree, which they can then take and go to 4-year public colleges, private institutions across the country. So these schools, the first school in New York was very successful and led the New York City school system to ask us to open a second one, which we did in 2008 in Queens. And then as the demand for this grew, we since opened outside of New York. So we have a school in Newark, New Jersey. Cleveland has 2 of our campuses. We have a campus in Baltimore, Maryland, and we've established programs in the Harlem Children's Zone, in New Orleans, and in Hudson that are sort of it's a version of the Bard High School early college model in which students can earn 1 year of college free of charge alongside a diploma. So we are a small and growing network currently serving over 2,600 students per year. So we started in 2001, so we've had a long track record. To date, so we've been expanding recently, but we've served in total over 6,000 students. We actually had a commencement this morning, so we've awarded over 3,000 associate's degrees. And our 9 campuses now employ over 200 college professors. So we're growing. We're actually larger than Bard College's main campus, which is an exciting milestone for us. So who are our students? One of the great things about early colleges is that they can attract truly diverse student populations. So Bard is really committed to student body diversity, and we put a lot of resources into recruiting students that really reflect the demographics of their cities. So as you can see here, we have a range of ethnic and racial demographics represented, the largest being Black students. Close to 40% of our students are first-generation college students, and the majority qualify for free meals. So we are really proud of the diversity at all of our campuses. And then the professors. So that's really what makes these schools what they are. We recruit this huge talent pool of college professors who are passionate about their subjects and really love teaching and are drawn to the idea of teaching adolescent students. So as you can see here, of our 200 faculty, the vast majority holds a PhD in the field or a terminal master's degree, and virtually all have graduate education in the content area. And again, we train them, and my colleague David Guba will speak to this on how to really be an effective early college high school teacher. So we're doing all this work. What is our success to date? This is based on last year's data because we're still tallying the data from this year. But last year in the class of 2017 across our network, 98% of our seniors completed a high school diploma. And on average, they took at least 1 year of college credit with them to their next institution, again, completely free of charge. 82% of our students earned a free associate's degree. Again, that's within the 4 years of high school, so we feel really great about that. And over 85% of our alumni are going on to continue their college studies. So for us, it's really, our test is how are our students doing when they leave us and they go to continue post-secondary or go into the workforce. Here you can see our associate's degree rates within high school are far exceed the national rates within 6 years after high school for associate's degree attainment. We're the blue graph on the right. And for bachelor's degrees, we also have very strong results, so over 90% completion. Most of our longitudinal data is from New York City, so we're excited to see what the data looks like from our newer campuses as well. One thing so this is just a breakdown of the degree completion for the associate's level across our campuses, so you can see how we get to that average, some variation, and every year, depending on the student body size and the class, those rates will shift by campus. One thing we're really proud of is that last year, 91% of our students were persisting in college. So this is a snapshot across our campuses of how students were doing in terms of their college trajectories. So for us, again, the goal is really students are taking that degree and doing something with it, whether it's going to four-year colleges, which is the most common, or the military, or the workplace. So I'm now going to turn it over to my colleague, Dr. David Guba, who's faculty at our newest Bard High School Early College campus, which is in Baltimore, to talk about what this looks like on the ground.
Okay, thank you, Clara. So let's see. Making sure I can use the PowerPoint, and I cannot. There we go. Okay, so my name is Dr. David Guba, and I have been at Bard for 2 years now. Bard Baltimore, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we're doing in Baltimore with this early college model. Bard Baltimore was established in 2015, so we just completed our 3rd year today, in fact. We're in West Baltimore in the Mondawmin neighborhood. And as Clara was saying, Bard is a partnership between the Baltimore City Public Schools and Bard College in Annandale, New York. This year we had 400 students. Next year we will be a little over 500, and that will be full capacity. It took 4 years, in fact, to fully enroll. It's set up that way. We have 25 full-time faculty on staff now, and we're growing to 33 by next year. And 60% of those faculty hold the highest degrees in their field, either MFA or PhD, and 80% of our faculty have at least a master's degree. So we have active researchers and scholars in the building, and that's incredibly important for recreating the college model in a high school. Bard is, and Baltimore City schools in general, are not zoned, so we pull kids from every zip code in the city. And we also have a very qualitative admissions process that doesn't look at past achievement. It doesn't look at anything except for an interview, a face-to-face interview, and a writing assessment to try to get at the level of intellectual curiosity and commitment in a student. So we're very proud of this qualitative admissions process. In our first graduating class, we had 71% of students earn an associate's degree in Baltimore, and 92% earned a high school diploma and at least 1 year of transferable college credit on average. I want to talk about some of our core components of this model. First and foremost, as I just said, the 60 free college credits are incredibly important, and I believe the number one thing that draws students and parents to our school. As Clara said, these are transferable, and we even have official agreements set up with local colleges, Goucher College, Hood College, University of Maryland, that allows students, if they get a certain GPA, to transfer these credits automatically. So whether or not they achieve the associate's degree, many still walk out with numerous college credits that save money and time on the traditional bachelor's degree. We are, as we said, most of us are college faculty with the highest degrees, many faculty with college teaching experience, and that is important for, again, recreating this model in the high school. Another core component is the writing and thinking and also liberal arts curriculum. Bard has an Institute of Writing and Thinking in Annandale that has a curriculum and pedagogy associated with it that brings seminar discussions, writing exercises, and a lot of group activities into the classroom, and makes it a staple of our curriculum, not simply in humanities courses, but in social sciences, and even in physical education as well. So we really push this writing and discussion-based model. And again, just to sort of highlight, this qualitative admissions process is something that we're very, very proud of. Some signature experiences, for sake of time, I'll just focus on a few. To help students make this transition into our school, especially as 9th graders, we offer a summer bridge program, which is roughly a week long and really teaches these writing and thinking style activities in a smaller setting that helps 9th graders acclimate to not only the experience of being in high school, but the kind of academics that we're trying to create. Once 9th and 10th graders make their way through their credits, we have a matriculation ceremony, which is very important and marks their transition into the early college program. As Clara said earlier, we call 11th and 12th grade year 1 and year 2, and this matriculation ceremony marks this. We want it to be an important ritual that 9th and 10th graders take very seriously as a goal as they move forward into the early college experience. Throughout, we offer advisory and what we call CTO, or college transfer office. And together, advisory and CTO offer our students an added support system as they adjust to the rigors of college level education. And one of our, I think, biggest draws, especially for year 1 and year 2 students to stay in the program and to continue with the very difficult curriculum, is our connection to Big Bard. Bard offers scholarships to kids. There's one scholarship called the ECHO Scholarship that's offered to many BSEC or high school early colleges throughout the country. And these are heavy incentives for our kids to really rise to the occasion of early college curriculum. And then, of course, commencement, as Clara talked about earlier, this is the day where we get to see many of our students, the first in their families to receive a college education and to receive it free of charge. So the commencement makes it all the more powerful. When we talk to our kids and ask them, and we do this a lot, what they like about Bard, And we also ask them what they dislike about BARD, and we'd be happy to talk about that. But to highlight the good, they of course love the free associate's degree. We search for and hire professors who care. That is first and foremost what we look for. The PhD, I think, is equally as important, but again, it's that relationship. So we have a very close-knit and diverse community. The independence and freedom, year 1 and year 2 students have a significant amount of free time compared to the traditional high school student. But along with that, there are high standards, high levels of support, and of course, an incredible amount of challenge. Our students have risen to that quite a bit. I'll talk, I couldn't talk later if people are interested. We offer a significant amount of faculty support. It's very difficult for a college professor to move into a secondary ed program on their own. So BARD Early College has numerous classes and courses and mentor programs and Sparrow counseling support that allows and helps faculty make this transition and ultimately helps them become really great early college faculty. Just some examples of our students, because that in the end is the most important thing. This is Anthony Lloyd, who is a current student at Bard College. He'll begin his second year this coming year, which will ultimately be officially his senior year. So he is a 19-year-old or 20-year-old student who graduated from Bard a year ago. He just finished his first year at Bard College. So that associate's degree allowed him to get into Bard College on a full scholarship, and then he will be able to finish within 2 years, although I think he's going to take a third, which will also be paid for, because he's, as he says, he loves to learn, and that's why he came to Bard. And another of our star pupils from years previous, this is Taylor Spann, who's currently at Stanford University, and she really talks about Bard in a way that shows us that we're doing a great thing, inspiring people to be intellectually curious and to think for themselves. So with that, I will turn it back over to Clara to wrap us up.
Great, thanks, David. So BARD is very committed to its schools and also to growing this concept of starting high quality, free college pathways earlier, whether that's career focus, liberal arts, we're agnostic to that. So just to give you a sense, the dual enrollment field is quite large. So there are about 2 million students currently enrolled in college courses, students who are of high school age. So about a year ago, the leading organizations in this field came together to form the College and High School Alliance. So this is a coalition of 5 steering committee members and over 75 associate members who are think tanks, educational organizations, probably many of you on the phone. They're really committed to policies that promote high quality dual enrollment in early college, which we're collectively calling college and high school to reduce the acronym soup. And our mission is to grow the movement with a quality and equity focus. So our goal is that in 10 years, 5 million students will participate in high quality college and high school programs, and that those students will reflect the demographics of the high school population. The equity focus, which was mentioned earlier, is really important because, as we all know, free college is not free. And so if students aren't paying, we have to make a concerted effort to make sure that those programs actually exist. Which brings us to the policy challenge. So you've heard the great data, these programs work, they're fabulous, so why aren't there more of them? One of the challenges is that right now, K-12 and higher ed are pretty siloed systems, and there's no dedicated funding for college and high school programs. So while early college, for example, is an extremely effective way to leverage high school funding to provide 2 free years of college, there are costs associated with it above traditional high school costs. So those could be the college tuition and fees that are waived for students, professor salaries, the additional student support services required to make this possible for students, college textbooks, which cost more, transportation in some cases. So we have to figure out how to fund this. And states that have really scaled up early college models have done so through direct support, grant programs, ongoing funding streams, and happy to talk more about what that looks like. On the regulatory side, there are also some challenges that come from the silos in the systems. So accountability systems, teacher licensure, dual credit policies, credit transfer policies. Right now, there's just not enough streamlining to make it easier for these programs to flourish. And that's what the College and High School Alliance is working to change. So the good news is that there is growing interest in early college and dual enrollment, and a recognition that the system as currently constructed is not working for kids. So in the federal Every Student Succeeds Act, for the first time, early college and dual enrollment appear. They're defined, they appear in multiple titles. So they are usually allowable use of funding provisions. Some places they appear on the accountability side, But basically, this is an opening we're very excited about, and we're looking towards the Higher Education Act reauthorization and the Perkins Act reauthorization for career and technical education as opportunities to promote these programs, open up some funding streams, create some incentives. And then, since a lot of the action is happening at the state level, we're very pleased to see a lot of states pushing forward policies that are geared towards improving high school, college access, college affordability, and college completion that focus on dual enrollment in early college. So happy to go into more depth, but I know we're short on time. So I'll just say that we are very excited about building this movement and hopefully doing so with all of you. So I encourage you to go to the College and High School Alliance website. Feel free to contact me and I can put you in touch with our leadership there. But we're very excited to really take this movement to the next level in the coming years and hopefully radically expand opportunities for students to access these great programs. So with that, I'll turn it back to the organizers.
Thank you so much, Clara and David. We're now going to jump into the question and answer portion of the webinar. So we have a few questions in the question function. And please keep them coming. I'm going to start with a question for our linked learning speakers, so Hillary or Cindy. And Hillary, you may want to start first. We have a question just broadly about how districts could get started with implementing linked learning, and as a related question, whether the linked learning certification is available in other states. And then we'll pause there. There are a couple more questions for linked learning, though.
Great, thank you. I'll start with the last part of that question first, which is yes, linked learning certification is open to any pathway, anywhere. We have a number of pathways from a whole range of different states that are participating, and we actually even have a couple of international pathways, one from India and one from Canada that have been pursuing certification, so it's absolutely open. The first question around how does a district get started? So as I mentioned, linked learning is an approach. It's not a model or a program. So it is a philosophy about education that any district could choose to implement. There are support resources on the linkedlearning.org website. There's also recommendations around technical assistance partners if a district is looking for some support to help guide and coach them as they embark on this work. I would also encourage anyone who's interested in learning more about linked learning practice to come to the annual Linked Learning Convention. That is going to be held this probably March. We're still nailing down our contract for our convention this year, but it will be held in California in the Palm Springs region. And we will definitely share the announcement when registration launches. But it's a great way to help learn, have your team learn about linked learning, get in touch with a lot of the partners in this work, districts that have gone down the road before you, and technical assistance partners. Cindy, do you have other words of wisdom for a district that would like to launch linked learning? Cindy, you might still be on mute if you're with us and are trying to respond.
Okay, thank you. Yes, just one tidbit in regards to actually seeing it in action, seeing linked learning. There are experiential site visits that many districts that are utilizing this approach offer throughout the year, and so you can see those postings on the Linked Learning Alliance website as well.
Great, thank you so much. Another question on linked learning. There's a question about whether there is a relationship between the linked learning strategy and WIOA, or the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act.
So they're complementary, absolutely. It's not dependent. It's not an interdependent relationship, but certainly the goals of WIOA and the funding streams through Perkins and so forth can be utilized to support your linked learning programs, and it really does help to, as Cindy talked about, the broad coalition to support your pathways for local districts to connect with workforce development boards and the regions that are interested in doing this, connect with their workforce development boards so the WIOA efforts are aligned and supported as a community philosophy around preparing all young people for college and career.
Thank you. And so the next question is for Clara or David. How could probably Clara, sorry. How could an interested organization join the College and High School Alliance?
Oh, that's a great question. So I believe on the website there is a Get Connected button or something like that. And our fabulous coordinator, Alex Perry, will, I'm sure, respond quickly if you if you email. I can pull that up while we're talking. But yeah, we have a number of working groups focused on higher ed, K-12, CTE, and we are getting really excited to step up our work in state policy and also communications around the concept of starting college earlier. So there are going to be some great opportunities to get involved. And we're 1 year into the work, and we're now making an even greater investment. So definitely go to the website collegeandhighschool.org, and from there it should be pretty clear where to contact us from a tab, but I will pull that up as we speak and confirm that. Yeah, there's a contact button. So just go there and someone will respond to you quickly.
Thank you. All right, one last question for Clara or David on the BARD model. Presumably the model might require additional funding. I wonder if you could talk about how bringing the BARD model into a high school impacts the school's budget.
Sure, that's a great question. So we are currently in districts where the high school funding is sufficient enough to support the core operations of the school. That the conversation with the district is one of costs as well. And so we have conversations upfront around what per student funding is available, what other resources we might be able to pull in. And then from there, we often work with the state governments and local philanthropic partners to supplement so that we can cover all the costs necessary to make sure the student experience is really robust. I will say that cost is one of the biggest challenges in this field, and it's one of the reasons that we're not in every city, among others. But a state like Texas, for example, or North Carolina, those states have made significant statewide investments in this model. And so in Texas, you have, I believe, over 150 early college high schools, often, partnering with local community colleges or four-year colleges in the state. So there are definitely ways to get around the funding issue, but it does require dedicated resources. And we're looking at a lot of funding sources. K-12, the per student is the largest source, but there are experiments going on right now involving Pell Grants and questions around, should Pell be allowed to go to younger students who are taking college courses? And if so, what should that look like? So I think a lot of things are on the table as we look towards the next 5 to 10 years. But funding is really one of the critical barriers to scale. And so in our case, we've been very strategic about where we open and ensuring that there is real local commitment to support the model.
Great, thank you so much. We are at time, so we appreciate the expertise and experience of our speakers, and thank you for sharing your time with us today. We hope that everyone attending this webinar enjoyed the presentation and learned more about what it takes to better connect the high school experience to pathways beyond high school. For more information on the Grad Nation campaign, we encourage you to visit our website. We will have these slides and the recording posted shortly on our website. And if you'd like to learn more about linked learning or the BARD early colleges, the websites are also on the screen. Thanks again for joining us. We want to encourage everyone who leaves this webinar to take the short survey. We do actually use the feedback that you share in the survey. Thanks again for participating, and we look forward to supporting your continued efforts to improve graduation rates and outcomes for all students. Have a great afternoon.